Beating the 5,000.
Yay. That's a lot of people. And we're
Yes.
in Matthew 14 and starting in 13, I think. Is it?
Yes.
And this is just after Jesus heard um that John the Baptist was beheaded.
So when Jesus heard it, he departed from there by boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the multitudes heard it, they followed him on foot from the cities.
So there's two things going on. Because there's Jesus, he's just dealing with what he heard, I think, and he wants to be by him. But then there's the people that just want more of Jesus, not realizing everything else, that they're not part of this, like they don't realize, probably most of them, don't realize that his John died. So they're just trying to be
Right. Doing what they were
learn
doing.
more. Right, exactly. So that can happen, isn't it? There's multiple stories going on and coming from different places, and
Right.
what happens in life, as we navigate
Definitely does.
multiple stories.
But even
Mul-
that, to think like that was Jesus's decision after hearing news like that.
right.
There's
Yeah,
got to be something in that
I know. And is it okay for us to just go by ourselves?
sometimes. Just contemplate.
I know. Talk to God, rest under his wings, shelter under his wings. I think that's what it talks about in Psalm 91. Like a shelter under his wings.
Right. Yeah, it definitely
And
does talk about the shelter.
yeah, and you don't even have to say anything, you know?
Right. Hmm. So, and when Jesus, yeah, they followed him,
Yes,
which
they followed him because they were
that's what he
hungry.
was doing. That's what he was
Right.
doing at the time.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Um, and he was moved with compassion for them and healed their sick. So even with everything, he still.
He- Yes.
When it
Yes.
was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitudes away, that they might go into the villages and buy themselves food." But Jesus said to them, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish." He said, "Bring them here to me." Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looked up into heaven. He blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
Wow.
So it's more than 5,000?
Right. So 5,000 men, and then depending on,
Just,
maybe that could be 10,000. Maybe it could be more, right? Because did a lot of women and children come? We don't know.
to be
If every man
for
had a,
every one man, there could have been one wife and child.
that could have been.
So upwards of 15,000.
There could be, exactly. Because what about people? Right. On average, maybe
And then you got
someone,
some busybodies. That's
yeah,
just regular people. So there might be like 15 kids running around in a family.
there could be. And then other people might have come on their own, right?
Right.
So then it all averages out, maybe. But that's a lot of people either way, a lot of food. And then look at all that's left over is way more than what was even started with. And everyone's fed.
It is.
And we don't know what the basket is. It's kind of a basket.
And do
A
we
basket.
talk about these in the other books? these same events?
Some of them we do, yes. Some of
Okay,
them we do.
we get to hear this again.
So do we talk about, I think, do you want to go look at it in a different version?
No, it's just I feel like there's not much context around it.
Right, right. I see what you're saying. 9, 12, let me see.
Like
Mm,
highlighting them, another miracle.
right. Oh, yeah. So, well, we might as well read it in Luke, right? If you go to Luke 9 and kind of start in verse 12 again, maybe 11 or 10.
Oh yeah, feeding. And the apostles, when they had returned, told him all that they had done. Then he took them and went aside privately into a deserted place belonging to the city called Bethsaida. But when the multitudes knew it, they followed him. And he received them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God and healed those who had need of healing. When the day began to wear away, the 12 came and said to him, Send the multitude away, that they may go into the surrounding towns and country and lodge and get provisions, for we are in a deserted place here. But he said to them, You give them something to eat. So he's there asking him, Should we send them into town
Right,
to
because
go get food? Because they're hungry.
right,
They
they're
need to
hungry
eat.
and there's no stores here. I mean,
And he's
there's
like,
no,
No, no, no. You give him something to eat. It's like, you mean these
right.
this? You could pick it all up in probably two hands.
Right, we have, right, exactly. So that's right. That's the disciples and Jesus's interaction, right?
Because that's the only thing that follows through from the other one. So the other one was they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And this one says you give them something to eat.
Right. So very similar, right? Same thing that Jesus said.
You give them something to eat. It's like, no, you do
Oh
it.
yeah,
And
right.
they
Oh,
said, we ain't got nothing but 5 loaves and 2 fish. Oh,
right.
man.
Unless, right, because they're trying in their logical mind, which makes sense to try to see, how they would do it, right? Unless we go and buy food for all these people, right? It says in that verse 13. We have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fishes, unless we go and buy food for all these people. For there was
There.
about 5,000 men. Sorry, John.
No, you keep going.
And then he said to his disciples, Make them sit down in groups of 50. So this is like more organization than we see, right? And they
Organize them
did
all.
so and made them all sit down. Then he took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes and looking up to heaven, same as the other one, right? He blessed and broke them and gave them to the disciples to set before the multitude. And they all ate and were filled, and the 12 baskets of leftover fragments were taken up by them.
So they had leftovers.
They had leftovers. That is so that's the story in Luke, and then we're back to Matthew,
I
I
mean,
think.
it's another very good example.
It's a wonderful story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And would we be the same, like trying to figure it out?
Right. That'd be like, hey, are we gonna buy? Are we gonna fish? Like, what are we gonna do? We're fishermen. We might as well go fish.
We could
But
fit. Does anyone have anything else in their pockets? Any any protein bars?
is anybody a farmer? I don't know.
Yes, a forager.
But
We can get some herbs out here in the field.
he had faith, and whatever happened,
He had peace too. And
he
they
did.
were all very happy when they ate, I'm sure, because that is,
Indeed, they were.
yes,
Uh,
peaceful.
yeah.
No,
Peace.
peace.
Peace.